Good evening and welcome to the DUIs and Dingers series. Oh my gosh, it's been a hell of a week. I'm still trying to catch up with everything going on right now. So, DUIs and Dingers, let's go ahead and pop up some info about this series. So, if you're new to the DUIs and Dingers series, it's hosted by Randy Post. Broadcasting is done by Death by Moose Media, and commentator is me, Randall Alvarez. And in the booth today, I will have Carl Handwork with me, so I'll definitely have some statistics to throw at you guys and some feedback, so it'll be a little bit better while I'm managing those cameras. Format for tonight's race: we're going to be racing at Charlottesville tonight. We're going to be racing at Charlotte tonight. We're going to be running those Granger trucks. We are going to be doing a 5-minute qual that just started, and we have a 90-lap feature, so this is going to be a nice, good race. Hopefully these guys are able to get those tires nice and warm before they start really kicking into gear. Just hearing them talk a little bit, they were just saying that pretty much until you're about 5 laps in, those tires just keep getting stickier and stickier, and you can't really stay on the throttle anymore. You actually have to let off and lift a little bit just to make some of those turns, and you keep going faster and faster. So with the new tire models and these guys out there, it should be a better run and a little more action out there for everyone. So I hope everyone enjoys tonight's race. And so, hey Carl, can you hear me?
I got you, buddy.
Awesome, man. So I just went over the race real fast. Let me readjust my mic. I gotta remember, I gotta man the sandboard and also do cameras. So, oh boy,
Jack of all trades.
Getting there. I think what I have left to learn is basket weaving and underwater fishing. Haven't learned those two things yet.
Well, I mean, once you get the basket weaving, that makes for the fishing that much easier. Just throw that basket in the water and scoop them.
And that's why I figured I'd start off with basket weaving. I think that's probably the best place to go with that. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Today's been a very jam-packed day, so I'm trying to catch up with some stuff. All right, so 2 minutes, 30 seconds left on the track. Looks like we're watching Nick Nickerson. Some guys you want to watch out for this. Some guys you want to watch out for the track tonight. Looks like we have Gregory Thompson. He did pull in a first-place win. We also have, once again, Nick Nickerson. Definitely going to be running for the front. Jonathan Platt, Kevin Foster, Willie Evernham, and it looks like we have Chase Scholda in there. I saw Bryson. Oh, there's Bryson, our residential road racer. I'm just not going to let it go. I'm just going to leave. He's a road racer now. I'm sorry, Bryson. It's just what it is. We have Bill Harkins out here, Bobby Everhart, and Daniel DeBois. DeBlau. Oh, DeBlau. Yeah, there we go. I wasn't throwing the L in there. Daniel DeBlau. Or I like to call him Double D. That guy is definitely, he's got some big guns out there, so we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, definitely some newer guys to DUIs from what I'm used to seeing with Daniel out here, or as you call him, Double D. Chris seems like he's a newer guy that's coming in here, and they're putting up some decent times here. So it'll definitely make the veterans have to push a little bit harder. I mean, you see Greg on top of the board right now, which you kind of expect that. Chase, I'm sure if he puts down a lap, he'll probably be up there too. And he's kind of one of the sneaky ones where you're kind of like your Kevin Foster. You're not really expecting him, and then all of a sudden he's there at the end, and he's always one to watch for sure.
Yeah, no, hands down, the sneaky ones really get you the most. And that's, honestly, I really enjoy having a couple of those guys in leagues, at least watching them race, because it adds for a little bit of tension for the front runners. Because most of the time, the guys that run the front pack, it's usually the same group. Sometimes if they make a bad choice make a bad decision on the track and lose it, they'll drop behind and have to work their way up. But the guys that are methodical and are sneaky about it, you coming up to the last couple laps and they're like, oh shit, I have someone riding my tail that's been not really burning up their tires, but has been pitting on their own time schedule. and really sticking to a rhythm that sets them up to be pretty much, you know, in the top three most of the races.
Yeah, that's what you see with a couple of the guys in here. I mean, definitely Kevin Foster is known for that. You know, just kind of hanging back, and then all of a sudden, when everybody's tires up front are falling off, he's the one that's climbing up through the rankings. Chase is the same way, and even Jonathan Platt he's one that can run up front. You know, if he's got a good fast truck or car, whatever they're running that night, and he can hold it up there for a while, or he can be one that comes from the back and, you know, same thing, you're not really expecting it, and all of a sudden he's right there with you.
Yeah. Whoa, I haven't seen that start before. Did Randy change the start? Are we doing... How come it's moving everyone out into the field?
That I'm not sure. That's a good question.
New to iRacing, we all start with a staggered launch.
No, with Charlotte, that's right. With Charlotte is it's one of the tracks where for some reason it has a start where they're facing the stands like this, but it's going to be a rolling start, so they're not actually starting sideways like this. Don't worry.
I wish that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, we could have a yellow flag before we even hit the start finish line.
Yeah. I've always wanted to see is that on the finish, on the green, that little inside oval. I've always wanted to see them whip it around and start that way. So you start going into the oval and swinging on the backside and shooting through. I always thought that'd be kind of fun.
Have you seen these guys run on the actual big oval? I mean, you want to try and throw some more wrinkles in there? It's definitely gonna be a good one tonight, because typically Charlotte is a track that's pretty easy to drive, but I'm not sure if it's between the new tire model and maybe the setup for tonight. It does seem a little bit tighter than what it normally is. Normally you can just kind of dive it down in the corner and it'll stick. Tonight the setup seems a little bit tighter for most of the guys, so you will have to see him kind of working that throttle a little bit through the corner. And the other thing to watch out for is if we do get some green flag pit stops, the pit exit is really bumpy going through 1 and 2 and getting on the backstretch. So you can easily see somebody pushing a little bit too hard and either losing it, or if you go up above that white line, you will get a penalty, and it's really touchy here at Charlotte. So definitely watch out for that.
Yeah, you gotta watch your spacing. Yeah, that's the one thing that always gets me is sometimes I leave the pits too soon. I forget that you have to ride the whole way through till you get to the blue back, or the backside of the blue line before you can cross over. I'm like, oh, let's just, I'm coming out of the pits. But that's just an experience on my part. All right,
well,
so
I mean, you know, now knowing your mistakes is the first problem, so you got that covered.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it. All right, so it looks like Kevin Foster looks like he's in P4 right now. These guys coming into the final turn before we go with the green flag. One hand on the soundboard, one hand on the cameras. Let's do this. All right, pace car dropping in. And they're holding the launch. Green flag out. And that is a clean launch from everyone out there.
Yeah, good clean launch. You already see Nick Negerson pushing Greg up there into the lead, and he definitely wants to hang right on to him and maybe make a dive bomb into one of these corners and try and grab the lead early. That's kind of his MO.
And that's definitely a good move to make. And you can see right now, looks like a big C over there. That's Casey Swatek. I believe that's what it was, right? It's like a SOU is how you pronounce it.
I thought it was something that you just didn't make sense at all, like Sawwich or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's Sowich.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, something like that. Crazy name. But you can see right there, he's still trying to find a position. He did get in right above Willie, but Willie was trying to keep him blocked out there, keep him on the high side for a little bit, make him work for it. Oh, it looks like Bill Harkins in the back. got a little loose there.
Yeah, and that's what I was about to say with Greg here, because it seems like Nick is really pushing up real tight to him, and I'm really surprised that the back end doesn't want to step out on Greg here. So I don't know if it's just he's not quite there yet, but he's definitely getting close to make a move here.
Yeah, and you can see right now Jonathan Platt really riding in behind Nick, doesn't want to let him get away with it. Nick and Greg are one of those guys that they'll you give them space and they'll run, and that turns out to be a really long and hard time trying to catch up to these guys.
Yeah, I think Greg's doing what he's going to do right now. He's just going to hold in that line and, hopefully saving some tires and keeping Nick behind him, because once Nick gets out ahead, he's pretty good at checking out. It really just depends on if he burns up his tires too much, if you're going to catch him or not.
Yeah. Once we hit lap 6, I'll be doing a run-through of the field just because we'll know the tires are nice and warm and set in, and there shouldn't be any accidents out there, so we'll have some time to run through and talk about some of the drivers. But it looks like a solid race from everyone out there right now. Still Nick pushing Greg, Platt trying to keep up with them, and then Big C over there, the 62, staying definitely within reach of all these guys. Nick on the inside, looks like he was just trying to grab a side draft. And there we go, lap 6. Let's go ahead and run through the lineup, starting with our first place. That's going to be Gregory Thompson. Just realized I forgot to do this camera. Gregory Thompson is running in the number 8. Nice, clean, I don't know what color you call it, baby blue and white with a little bit of gold on there. We're going to have next right behind him Nick Nickerson in the 85 and the Chevy white and black. Jonathan Platt running in the number 43, repping the suicide prevention lifeline. Daniel man. Wait a minute, he's running in a different... Okay. In the number 62, but it says 83 on it, is going to be the nice burning up HRH Motorsports. That's going to be Daniel. Kevin Foster running in the number 99. I'm still having a hard time with that sponsor's name. Senor de Azzo, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Then we have Willie Evernham running in the 91, a Busch Light. Chase Scholda in the number 5 Hooters. Bryson Clark in the number 20 Wickedly Boosted. Oh, there we go. 2 paint schemes. That's what it is. Casey Swat. I'm gonna ruin it every single time.
Wait for it.
Casey Sandwich in the number 27. Bill Harkins in the 998. We have Chris Hahn. Yep, looks like Hahn. And the number 42. And Bobby Everhart in the nice Virtual Racing School 71. Those are some clean colors. Oh, he just flashed out. All right, so back to the race. Front runners still haven't changed up too much. These guys are just kind of riding in with each other. We do have Jonathan Platt taking away the lead from Nick Nickerson and Gregory Thompson, which is a good push by him. Question is, with that push, is that going to really wear into his tires too much that it's going to bite him in the butt in the long run? But it looks like he's able to he's throwing out a good gap. So I think that was a good choice on this matter.
Yeah, it was really just good timing on Jonathan Platt when he took the lead there, because Greg got looked like a little bit too much of a push off turn 4, and between that and Nick getting a really good run off turn 4, he dove down low, took the lead from him, and Platt followed him right behind and actually took the lead right from Nick on the backstretch of following lap. So just really good timing, kind of leapfrogging his way all the way from 3rd up to 1st, and it does seem like he's being able to stretch out a little bit compared to when Greg was in the lead.
Yeah, he sometimes when you get that like second jump, the other person has to slow down a little bit for that next set, and you just push right through, and they don't expect it.
Well, it looks like I'm not sure if Nick is running a little bit higher line to try and save some tires, or it may be a situation where from him riding behind Greg for so long.
I'll be back in 1 second.
That's what's kind of really killed his tires.
My dog decided it was time to bark.
That's about that time.
Yeah, it's about that time. He's like, oh, look at the time. Let me bark real fast.
Our lap 13 bark around the track.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so looks like Nick on the outside still, and Greg looking for that inside push. After riding behind Nick for a little bit, I think he's definitely going to go for it.
Well, we do see Bobby Everhart in the pits right now using up his fast repair, so unscheduled pit stop for him. I'm not sure if he just had too much damage and just figured to come in now and just bite the bullet and hopefully get that lap back late.
Yeah, I think he just had too much damage towards the end. It looks like he's just having a hard time with the track right now, which is, it's reasonable. This is a tough track, especially with the tire models. A lot of people are having some issues. Like the guys were saying, you can't just step on the gas anymore. You really have to lift a little bit, and as the tires keep getting warmer and warmer, they keep getting faster and faster, so you have to lift more and more, and that just might have been the case. He just kept hitting the high wall, or hitting the outside wall just because he didn't lift as much the next time around.
Yeah, one guy that doesn't seem like he has that problem is Jonathan Platt starting to check out a little bit more. Looks like Greg Thompson did make the pass for second, and now it looks like Nick is stuck on the high side a little bit, maybe trying to save some tires that he burned off earlier, and he's starting to fall back a bit. But Jonathan Platt, in the meantime, definitely checking out a bit. He's out to almost 7/10 of a second.
Yeah, so he's definitely up there. Something to notice is we have the 62 and number 99 Kevin Foster pushing up ahead. It looks like Nick might be stopping in for a pit if he's definitely dropping behind that much.
Yeah, I think for now he's just burned up too much tires.
Oh,
right
and
behind Greg back close.
Did I hear an accident? I heard someone touch.
Nothing I see right now.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard a so maybe someone touched the wall.
Yeah, it looks like Casey might have had him getting in the wall by himself.
All right, so if we work our way back a little bit and go over to Chase Scholda and Bryson Clark, let's go ahead and zoom in on those guys. These guys have been battling it out for a while. Bryson has been looking for that opening, but Chase definitely holding it ahead of him. Looks like Willie's dropped behind a little bit. He's now behind Bryson, number 20. It just might be one of those strategies where they're just trying to save tires a little bit. They did some front running for a while, try to push hard, and then figured, hey, tires getting worn. I can't make the turns as hard as I can. Let's cool it a little bit and just maybe trying to extend out these tires as long as possible.
Well, and I'm wondering if Jonathan Platt pushing out to that 7/10 of a second lead actually cost him, because you have Greg Thompson moving in here to try and take the lead right back.
Yeah. And there we go. I think he's going to be able to secure it. Around the turn 2 wide. And there he goes. Neck and neck. And John dropping down low. John might be looking for a rebuttal.
Yeah, try for a bit of a crossover there, and he's still kind of
he's still fishing
bit,
for it.
But I think he's got to just hold back right now and just bide his time a little bit, let those tires cool off a bit, and kind of wait for his right opportunity.
Yeah, and it looks like Greg is he's fine now, but Platt's not going to give it up too easily, and you can see Platt's definitely keeping his car right behind him as much as possible.
Yeah, what's amazing is how much Nick Nickerson has fallen off here. He was up there running for the lead. He actually did have the lead for a brief second, and now, I mean, he's just lifting so much more than the other guys in the corner. His tires have got to just be screaming at this point.
He might actually have damaged his engine. To be dropping off that much? That sounds a little more serious than tires.
No, I think he's just really have to get off the gas right now, because he didn't get in the wall or anything like that. He's got no physical damage, so it's straight up got to be, his tires are just worn off so much that he's really got to check.
You're just pushing too hard.
Yeah, and that's where, being behind Greg, that's where you've seen him in the beginning kind of dipping down low a little bit. That's just to get a little more air to the front to get some kind of air grip, essentially, to keep the wheels turning and, stay behind Greg that long. All he's doing is turning with the tires. It looks like actually we have Jonathan Platt coming in the pits.
Yep, and just a nice clean pass by Willie Everham. with Chase Scholda, I want to say blinking out. It's getting a little scary there.
And it looks like Nick did follow him down there, getting pretty hot, but it looks like he got it slowed up in time.
Yep. Now let's go ahead and watch these guys pit. Let's see if they grab 2 or 4. I'm curious. They're probably going to grab full 4 and fuel.
Yeah, at this point, if you grab anything other than 4, you're really asking for it. And it looks like some of the other leaders coming in right now.
Yep. And there we go. That's going to be a full 4 from Platt, full 4 from Nick Nickerson. Platt with
Looks
a
like
clean push.
Kevin Foster going to inherit the lead for now.
Yep. Kevin Foster riding in the mid of the or starting, I would say, what, 5th place? Or no, he was in 4th place where he started and kind of dropped back a little bit. Now he's back up there. Most likely he'll be probably trying to run 2 laps, or he'll go into pit right now. And he's definitely going for the pit. So that's going to give Bill Harkins a chance to catch up and pass on the lead to... Well, if Kevin Foster can pit fast enough, it's going to be his, but I think that's going to actually go to Jonathan Platt as these guys pass the finish line right now.
Yeah, what's going to be interesting is you've seen Jonathan Platt and Nick Nickerson come in a lap earlier than the other guys. Just see how much that 1 lap short pit is going to do for getting them back up there.
Yeah, and watching the pits right now, we're getting ready to see Kevin Foster launch out. Jonathan Platt still on turn 3 and 4. Kevin Foster out of the pits.
Pass.
Now this is going to be real tight. Let's get in with this, because these guys are going to be getting real close to each other. So Kevin, looks like Kevin trying to get out as fast as he can, but Platt's coming up hot, and there we go. Platt taking first away from Kevin Foster. And same thing with Greg. Kevin's going to slide in with, Nick Nickerson diving down on the inside. Kevin staying high. And that's going to throw Kevin probably in 5th place. He's going to get close to the 62.
Yeah, but one thing that 1 lap short pit did for Jonathan Platt is give him right back that lead. He ended up passing Greg Thompson on the back stretch when Greg was coming.
Yeah, definitely. And that was some good timing, because in I would say like what, 2 seconds. If he would have pitted 2 seconds later, he would have fallen in behind Foster.
Yeah, I mean, really what it is, I mean, he came in that lap early, and it's all that 1 lap of fresh tires compared to everybody else staying out for 1 more lap and run on those old tires. That just gained him probably at least a good second, maybe 1.5 seconds to get him back that lead. And what would be interesting is to see if he can check out now and maybe get away from Greg Thompson, getting that little bit of draft from him, and see if he can really check out on the field.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that right now, because he's technically on lap 3, or coming up on lap 3 on those new tires. And he said, you know, or they're saying not till like lap 5 they're really getting some pull out of those things. So with Greg being pretty much right behind him, I don't know. But Platt was able to push away from him before, so this might just be him, you know, really trying to work it out there.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's out to the biggest lead we've seen so far tonight, which is at a little bit over 7.5 tenths of a second. So if he can get out there to you know, to 8-9 tenths of a second, or even a full second, that's going to be out of the range of Greg being able to pull any kind of draft from him. Yeah.
And Andrew Combs, to answer your question, these overlays are technically new, but they are handed to me by the owner of the league, so I'm using them for his league only. All right, so Jonathan Platt still in the front. Gregory Thompson still trying to reel him in, but I think you're correct with that assumption. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the same thing kind of happened. Like he was gaining a tenth of a second, and then all of a sudden it just kind of plateaued, and Greg started reeling him in, and it almost seems like that's what's starting to happen already here. As it looked like Platt got out to about 8.5 tenths of a second, but now already Greg gained about a tenth of a second on him that time. So we'll see if he can maintain this distance, or if Greg is going to start reeling him in again.
Yeah, well, coming up behind Nick Nickerson, Kevin Foster, he's definitely looking to reel him in. He's been trying to fish that guy out in front of him for a while now, a couple laps. You know, he was able to get ahead of the 62, and now he's got Nick to deal with. Nick being a fast driver, that's going to be a tough one to pull off. So, you know, we're on lap 30. We're a third of the way done. We did see these guys pit around, was lap 25.
Yeah, I think pit stop started around like 25 to 27. Yep.
Yeah, 25, 27. So we're looking probably a late push. Honestly, if I was out there on the track, I'd ride my tires probably into 35 maybe, and just maybe deal with it. I don't know. That's a tough call, because if you're having to pit around lap 27 and you pit again 27 laps in, you know, you're a third of the way, another third there, and that's going to add up in the end, where you're going to have about 10 laps of bad tires. And I don't.
Well, I think the problem is it's really not necessarily tires. I mean, of course, you definitely want those tires, but it's the fuel. They're only getting about 25 to 27 on the fuel right now.
Oh, okay.
And that's why you see, you know, Kevin always seems to be a guy that can really stretch the fuel, and he can only stretch it to, you know, maybe 27 to 28 laps out there. So it's probably going to be at least another 2 stops for these guys, and that last stop is really going to be crucial. I mean, if you're going to chance it, go for 2 tires. If you're going to go no tires, or if you're just going to maybe short pit, get all 4 tires, and just try and you know, get a good gap going.
Now, could these guys mid pit, or like say the next pit they take, do you think it'd be smart to maybe pit 15 laps in, grab fuel and 2 tires, and try and run another 15?
I think right now, I mean, everybody is spread out pretty well, so the chance of a caution coming out is pretty slim. So, I mean, what I would do is, if I'm in here, is I would run these first 2 runs. Obviously, the first one's done already, but this run here, I would run kind of to the fullest and get out there as long as I can, and then maybe split that last kind of segment of the race right in half. So if they come out and there's, say, maybe, you know, 36 laps, I would come in after 18 laps and then do another 18. So you're gonna have the freshest set of tires for both sets of runs.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Now, looks like Greg was able to reel Jonathan Platt back in, closing in that gap, and probably setting up a pass is what it looks like. He keeps getting a little bit closer each turn, and probably in the next I'd say probably in the next 2 laps around, he might be looking to push past him.
Yeah, and you also see what that's doing is it's actually bringing Nick Nickerson and Kevin right up to the whole pack here. So we're about to have a 4-truck battle here, as it looks like Kevin's trying to take a little dive here for third.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go into Nick's car so you guys can see this a little better. So definitely some high banking here. And so Nick still staying hot on Kevin's tail. Kevin was able to get around him, but these guys are pushing up to that front pack. They want to work together a little bit just to kind of close that gap. So these guys are coming into turn 3 and 4 right now and swinging themselves around. You can see those 4 little white dots coming into the finishing stretch. Turning it to lap 39.
And it looks like, I mean, Greg is definitely faster than Jonathan Platt right now, but he can't find a way around him, and it almost seems like he's getting a little bit frustrated. And
there we go. There's the pass.
An aggressive move here.
Oh, nope. Not able to complete it.
Yeah, I think that's almost the 3rd or 4th time now that Greg's tried that move, and Platt just holds just that little bit of speed that he can cut down at the end and kind of chop off his nose. And Greg's gonna have to do something maybe a little crazy here without tearing up his tires.
Yeah, and you know what? I honestly think maybe Platt on fresher tires is faster than Greg.
Yeah, honestly, that's what it seems like it is. It seems like he's fresher tires, he's better, and then once the run goes in, I don't know if Platt just maybe runs it a little too hard trying to check out from Greg.
Greg getting inches away from Platt's bumper. This might be where he's going to be pushing for another pass. As they come into turn 1 and 2, there we go. Diving on the inside, Platt going up high a little bit, and now Greg has the space he needs, but he lost that momentum. And Kevin Foster sneaking up behind him.
Yeah, and really what
joining the
that's going to do
battle.
is it's going to hurt Greg.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt Greg because Platt's going to get that little bit of draft, and you see what happens. I mean, Kevin actually looking for second place on the high side.
That's not going to happen. Kevin's going to... You just hear his tires?
Yep.
He scrubbed a lot of speed on that. He, avoiding an accident, just let off the gas right there. You can hear his tires kind of just squealing as he saw himself going up to the outside wall.
Speaking of squealing, it looked like Platt definitely got a little bit too tight through that corner, and that's really going to open up the door for Greg now. I think he's got him this time.
Yeah, definitely there. And Greg pushing through. But Platt fending him off pretty well. Going down the straight, I think Platt has a better exit. But with Kevin Foster right behind Greg, that's going to probably drop Platt down into third place if that position... Oh, nope, it opened up. Yeah, if Kevin was able to lock in behind Greg, that would have definitely dropped Platt back 2 positions and been more of a stressful situation for him.
Yeah, and honestly, what I would do if I was Greg here is knowing that I'm better on the longer runs, I would actually come in a little bit earlier than maybe normally planned to, because what that's going to do is it's hopefully going to keep him out ahead of Jonathan Platt. And he's going to be able to hold him off because he knows he's better in the longer runs. So all he has to do is get out, get those fresh tires, check out a little bit from Platt, and not let him get the lead back. And that might be the best strategy for him right now.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. So we are at the halfway point right now, lap 45, as we swing into the finish.
Now it looks like out to these guys though, going this long without any kind of cautions, any kind of real bad incident.
You know, honestly, I think it has to do with really, these guys are really good drivers. They have a lot of experience, and looks like Platt dropping down and going in for the pit.
Yep, and Greg is doing the same thing. He's making sure
short dive. Yeah,
he caps off.
So that's going to put Kevin Foster out there, and Kevin's probably going to pit this lap too. From the looks of things, though, we have a couple guys staying outside. That's going to be Bryson Clark, Nick Nickerson, and then the 42, which is Chris Hahn. Chris Hahn's been riding in the back of the pack, but now he's working his way up to the front. But these guys probably will be pitting the next on this lap too, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, you see Kevin Foster coming out of the pits right now. But what you definitely want to look at here is, as you see Jonathan Platt getting a better pit stop, you got to make sure you get as much power down, and he's got to get ahead of Greg as much as he can here without getting any kind of penalties.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough. And looks like Chris Hahn's going to hold the lead for a little bit. But I'm pretty sure these guys are going to go in for the pit this turn. Nope, they decided to stay out.
Yeah, considering these guys were out there, they were back a good amount. They're maybe just staying out there and maybe trying a different strategy and stretching this as long as they can, maybe hoping for a caution.
Yeah, and that is a choice you can make, but honestly, from what I've seen, it's not going to pay off in this league. A lot of these guys, you're most likely going to wreck your car, than and be the person of the caution, than really working on someone else's caution and getting in that pit when it allows you to re-rack.
Yeah, it's just an unfortunate trade-off. I mean, they're back there that far. Like even Bryson Clark coming in right behind him here, they're back so far that their chance of winning is pretty much the only way of, or should I say, the only way of winning is going to be changing up the strategy and maybe hoping to get that break of a caution.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be where a short pit might be to their advantage, doing just a couple two, and just kind of maybe running it that way.
Yeah, just some kind of off strategy that maybe they can get lucky and find their way back up there.
Now we have Nick Nickerson still up in the front. He hasn't pitted yet though, so that's going to be the clincher for him.
No, Nick did pit. He pit on
Oh, you're
lap
right. He did.
44.
Yeah, I'm looking
Yep.
at his stop right now. I knew he was running with the pack, so I didn't know if he pitted with him or not. But you're right. Yes, he did pit, and he's definitely got a lot of lead, or he definitely has a large lead. But Jonathan Platt has been able to reel him in every single time. So if I was Nick, I'd be a little scared.
Well, and that's exactly where the short pit came in handy. I mean, for Nick, he went in and pitted on lap 44, and the lead group that we watched come in with with Jonathan Platt and Greg Thompson and I forget who else came in with him. I'm not
Kevin
sure if it was
Foster.
Daniel, but
Oh no,
when the
Kevin
three of
Foster
them,
pitted the next lap.
yeah, when the three of them came in, they came in at lap 46, so 2 laps later, and you see exactly what it did. I mean, it gave Nick Nickerson almost a 3 second difference. It's almost a second difference a lap by pitting early, but you also got to make sure that you're going to make it on fuel with those pit stops.
Yeah. And right now, looking at the intervals as they cross. And it's still closing in. And we're looking at Jonathan Platt running literally, man, I'd say 2/10 of a second faster than Nick. So every single lap, he's reeling him in about 2/10 of a second, and that adds up in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, on that last lap right there, Jonathan Platt ran a 29.973.
Yeah, I'm looking at
compared
that.
to Nick Nickerson running a 30.097. So yeah,
Yeah.
almost a tenth and a half second faster, and you're going to see that because now Nick's got 3 lap older tires compared to Jonathan Platt. It gave him the lead, but now he's got to try and stretch that out as long as he can, and hopefully pit at the same time as Platt and retain that lead.
Yeah, and that's gonna be really difficult to do.
Right, and the exact opposite strategy has got to be for Platt. He's going to try and run as hard as he can and get past Nick, and hopefully check out a little bit so that way if he does short pit again, Platt's got enough of a lead that it's not going to give the lead right back to Nick.
Exactly. He's gonna be able to lap him once or twice.
But that's one thing that is nice and gives you that luxury when you have really good guys racing here together and you're not causing any kind of cautions or any kind of issues. You can run out, have all different kinds of pit strategies and fuel mileage. This is the way it should be.
Yeah, and that's that really, I don't think a lot of people in iRacing get that. Out of the lower official races and some of the higher ones, they don't get a chance to really work on a strategy. And you can see right now, like, people that have a good strategy and people to keep an eye on, Nick Nickerson, Jonathan Platt, Kevin Foster, and Gregory Thompson. Those guys, with the green flags all the way, it allows them to really work on what they want to do.
Yeah, and it gives the guy that's running in third in line that maybe not have the same speed as the guys in front of him. He can go off strategy and maybe take that lead with a short pit or maybe stretch it out and try and make enough fuel mileage.
Yeah. And when this field gets spread out like this, it might seem a little bit not as exciting because people aren't as door to door, but where for the drivers, this is like you're talking about peak driving in the sense of you're just throwing down laps and you're trying to just do better each and every single lap. And when you're reeling that guy in and he's doing a tenth to 2/10 slower than you and he's in front of you, it's a good feeling seeing them get a little bit bigger and bigger as you reel them in. And we're getting a nice clean pass from the 42. Looks like the 27 giving him some space, and Bryson Clark also looking for that window just to catch up to him. And we are going to be 30 laps in. Oh, sorry, 30 laps to go.
Yeah, and get back to what you were saying. I mean, that's definitely what it is. I mean, when you're when you're riding around in a pack, you're kind of trying to hit your marks, but you're also trying to stay off everybody else. But when you get stretched out like this, that's really when everything just kind of focuses in, and all you're doing is trying to hit your marks and just be that little bit better than the guy that's ahead of you or the guy that's behind you. And it's really when you get a chance to focus as a driver.
Yeah, can totally agree with you on that. And it's it's a different ball game. A lot of people can run short, fast laps, but there's not too many people that can run long, fast laps. And that's where you're seeing our whole front line right now. Kevin Foster. Let me zoom in on that real fast. Kevin Foster, Gregory Thompson, and then Chris Hahn right behind them. I believe I have that lineup set up. Oh, sorry, no, Willie's in between them. So, like I was, sorry, Kevin Foster and Gregory Thompson, they're all pretty much staying pretty close together. Looks like Greg's dropping off a little bit, but everyone in this front pack are, that's where they really excel, is on these long laps, trying to just work on their time.
Yeah, what's really interesting is it's actually going completely backwards. Is that last lap around, the fastest guy at the top 4 was 4th, second fastest was 3rd, third fastest was 2nd, and the slowest of the 4 was 1st. So you're definitely seeing where that pit strategy eventually comes and winds itself back out.
Yeah, and I honestly think the front guy is pushing a little harder. He doesn't want that guy that maybe has a little bit of fresher set catching up to him, just because, like you were saying before, you want to have that distance so when you go in and pit, you can come out with enough of a run to really challenge them, even though they're throwing down a faster time. You want to be able to close that gap when they go into pit, the next lap or the next 2 laps. And that's a tough thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, now it's a situation where if you're Nick, you're not going to take that last segment and split it in half. You're going to pretty much get to your fuel window and go in the pits and essentially have a second short pit in a row, which is going to give you that. It's going to drop you back
bump
to say 5th or 6th, but you're going to be that much faster than those guys that are out front. I mean, you're going to be running probably half a second faster than everybody out front. So if you don't have any cautions, by the time they go into the pits, you could have a 5-6 second lead easy.
Oh yeah.
And it almost seems like Platt trying to draw him in here is coming to a plateau also, because it actually seems that Nick is starting to maybe pull back away a little bit.
Yeah, I'm looking at the times right now, and it looks like their times are evening out, which means both their tires are getting to the same point. And that's also something that you have to be aware of, even though you have a strategy and you're running faster laps than them. If the gap is too big, it's just not going to work out.
In the meantime, you see Willie Everingham making his move into 3rd place. So see if he can reel in Jonathan Platt. See if Platt
he's actually in 10th place. Willie is at 2 laps behind.
Oh, okay. Well, it was a good pass for technical 3rd on the track here.
Yeah, no, it threw me off too, because I thought I saw a nice little pack in for like 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and I was like, oh, sweet. And then I looked and I was like, oh, Willie's in 10th. Willie doing a good job defending Kevin Foster from getting up to the front pack. Way to go, Willie. Hold him back there.
Well, I mean, and this maybe exactly what Willie needs to do right now. He needs to actually run down Jonathan Platt, pass him, and then run down Nick and pass him, because that'll get him 1 lap down. And if we get another caution at some point at the end of the race here, he can get that last lap back and maybe try and vie for this lead yet.
Yeah, and honestly, I think this 3rd pit session is probably where this caution is going to come out. I think people are really wanting to push it.
Speaking of pits, here you go. Nick Nickerson coming in the pits.
Okay, so there's Nick. Jonathan Platt trying to close that gap. Willie really pushing him hard. That's going to go against Jonathan Platt's plan. Because if Willie battles him the whole way around, that's going to slow Platt down.
Yeah, now what Platt needs to do here is actually just let Willie go and maybe just get a little toe from him for a little bit and try and get as much speed from Willie as possible.
Yeah, I think he's going to be hitting the pits. And there we go. He's diving in. And that's going to give Kevin Foster the lead.
And here's where you're going to see, Nick coming in 1 lap earlier again, see if he's going to be able to stretch that 1 second per lap gap right back out.
I think he can. I think he can, but it's definitely a tall order.
We're about to find out here as looks like Nick is coming through turn 4 and Jonathan Platt pulling out right now. So Nick is definitely going to inherit this lead coming into the backstretch. Just how close is Platt going to be able to keep him?
Yeah, I'm watching that right now, and I think he's going to be, I'm going to say about a second to 3 seconds behind him.
And now as Kevin Foster comes out of the pits, we'll see where he kind of lines back in here. Looks like he actually may be able to jump Jonathan Platt and maybe take over second place if he can get off this this pit lane quickly.
I don't think so, but we'll see what happens.
Now,
And Platt flying past him.
He should be able to grab onto the back of him, maybe draft right up to him, and he's going to have 2-3 lap fresher tires. So we'll see if that's enough to at least get him the pass for second.
I think it definitely will. What he needs to worry about now is, they got 20 laps to go. They can make it on fuel, but now it's when do you really push your tires? Because gunning them this soon might not be the best bet. Maybe taking more of a passive for maybe an extra 5-10 laps. Kind of don't push them too hard, but ride them. And then the last 10 laps, just really go ham on those tires when they're nice and hot and ready to really kick it around these corners.
Yeah, but the only problem what you're seeing now is, Nick is out now to about a 2.5 second lead over Jonathan Platt. So, I mean, Platt can't he can't hold back there too much longer. He's really got to go, and he's going to try and close this gap, at least get a little close to Nick to maybe force him into a mistake, which is very unlikely to happen. But I mean, that's the only chance that Platt has right now, other than if a late caution comes out here.
Yeah, Nick might be pushing it too hard. Let's go ahead and check in on Nick real fast. We'll hop in his cockpit so you guys can maybe hear a little bit of what's going on in there. And you can really hear those tires screeching. It's kind of funny. You really think of like racing as people like turning wheels really heavily and diving in and really turning the tires, but the fastest way to race is really not to turn your tire and do moves where you're barely touching the tire and wearing down your tire, touching your steering wheel and wearing down your tires. You want to keep it as fluid as possible, as minimal movements on your wheel so that your tires are not going back and forth and really scrubbing themselves off.
Yeah, I mean, smooth is fast, and the straighter you can keep your wheel, the better you're going to be, and that's really where it comes to having a really good setup. I mean, obviously these guys are running fixed setups in this league here, but whenever you're out there on the track, you want to try and have a setup that's going to allow you to have as much speed as possible with as little wheel as possible.
Yeah, and that's really hard to really difficult to do. It takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of time, and to do it consistently, it's a lot of effort.
Well, yeah, and I mean, it goes back to the saying loose is fast, and you think, well, if you're loose, you're going to be burning up tires, but you got to think it the opposite way, because if you're tight, you're really going to be turning the car to try and get it through the corner. So that's
exactly
where loose is actually going to make you fast, because the back end is going to be kind of already out, pointing you the direction you want to go.
Yep, and it'll turn itself into it. You kind of just point the car and it goes. All right, so Nick Nixon now has the lead. Now that Chris dropped into the pits. And what we're looking at is Jonathan Platt still fluctuating with a tenth of a second to, yeah, about a tenth of a second to 2/10 of seconds faster than Nick Nickerson around these laps.
Yeah, and really with this field spread out so much, even when they catch lap traffic, like when they just pass Casey there, you know, he's all by himself, so it's easy for him to get out the way and kind of let these leaders by. So, you know, the thought of maybe lap cars holding up Nick a little bit to let Platt catch up, it doesn't seem like it's happening here.
Yeah, and that helps out a lot too. The more lap traffic you have, and the more piled up they are, it holds back your front runner. And that also creates an opportunity for Platt, you know, to catch up to Nick if Nick gets stuck behind, you know, maybe two cars that are trying to run neck and neck.
Yeah, I mean, you see, you know, I'm not sure how much Casey actually held up Nick compared to Platt, but you see, like you say, you know, he's gaining still a tenth of a second a lap, but when we're coming down now to, I believe we got 11 laps to go, and he's still 1.9 seconds out. He's going to need more. He's going to need to dig here, and he's going to need to really buckle down and try and close this gap up real quick.
Yeah, it looks like Platt's running the same time as him now. The last lap, it started closing the gap between them, and they're running pretty much the same time. You know, a 30.204 from Platt. That's tough. With 10 laps to go, you really still need that, you know, 2/10 of a second reel in to really close that gap so that you have a chance to really push hard and fight them on those last, you know, five laps.
Yeah, I mean, if somehow he can gain, you know, a second, at least a second over these next 3-4 laps, then he would have a shot at it because he'd at least grab the draft from him and maybe start to reel him in that way. But it really just seems like he's gaining, but it's not enough. You know,
Yeah.
each lap, Nick just is just enough faster that, or should I say, not as much slower for Platt to catch up.
Yeah, and that's it's hard. It really is. And you can't give up the fight there, though. You really have to stick to your guns and keep pushing it, because that person in the front could make a mistake anytime. He can be all by himself and just push it just a little bit too hard into a corner. Because right now, towards the end of the race, these guys are on some pretty worn tires, and they're going to want to keep that lead. So they're going to be pushing it harder than, you know, one might expect.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Jonathan Platt can't do also. I mean, I know he wants to catch up as much as possible, but you know, you push it too hard, and then that's going to let Kevin Foster come right up there, as you see him, you know, kind of come back in the picture here for second.
Yeah.
It's you know, it's a give and take. I mean, you want that win, you want that lead, but you know, second place is always going to be better than third place.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think Kevin's going to be setting himself up to try and pass Platt.
Yeah, I mean, the way he's running them down, I would say within maybe a lap or two.
5 laps.
You know, coming to 3 or 2 laps to go, he's going to be right there, and he's going to be able to make a move. And then whether he can actually complete the pass or not is going to be a different story.
Yeah, that's going to be on him. Oops, sorry about that.
What's really surprising is how it seemed like in practice. I mean, you could pretty much throw a blanket over the entire field, but you know, now once we actually get to the race, you know, even without any kind of cautions or any kind of issues at all, we really only have 4 cars that are, you know, essentially within breathing distance of the leader, with Greg being almost 5 seconds back, and after that you get Bryson in 5th place, you know, way back there at 19 seconds back. I mean, probably closer to being lapped than he is catching Nick, and
yeah.
It's really surprising that it's stretched out that much between practice to the race.
I think a lot of people rely on those cautions. Not saying anyone is doing that today, but I think you just get into a habit where you always think there's going to be a caution like every 20 laps or so.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, you got some guys are just, you know, so used to running official races, and it seems like all it is. I mean, I've pretty much myself given up on official races because half the time they're just a joke. I mean, you can get maybe 5 lap runs in before there's an issue. I mean, every once in a while you'll get that unicorn where you'll get a good 20 lap run, but you can't really expect much more than that.
And that's a tough one. I would not want to be a part of that.
No, it is, but that's really where league racing I think is where at least I'm more comfortable because you can actually get these long green flag runs. I mean, we just knock on wood. I don't want the commentators curse here, but we're about to run 90 laps
Yeah.
caution free, and
Yeah.
that's the way it should be. And you're seeing, the top four guys all are on different pit strategies. I mean, I think only Nick and Platt came in the same pit stop this last time, but Greg's pitting in a different lap. You got Kevin pitting in a different lap, and you see they're all right up there. And speaking up there, you see Kevin really pushing for second place now.
Yeah, he's trying to reel it in. We'll once these guys pass that line, we'll jump back in with them. All right, so the battle to watch tonight is going to be between Kevin Foster and Jonathan Platt. 2 laps to go. Kevin trying to battle him out.
And trying to do it on the high side actually gets in the wall a bit, so
That's
may have to hold off for this lap. Maybe try and go on the last lap pass.
That's definitely an option. I think can't remember who I was talking to, but they said they don't mind racing rough with Jonathan Platt because it goes both ways between both of them. And I think that was Kevin Foster. So if I was Jonathan Platt, I'd keep my spacing from him. I know on this final lap, Kevin's definitely going to try and get door to door with him and see if he can get across that line before him.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a bad move there in turn 1 and 2 there.
It's going to blow his
kind of the
opportunity.
middle line. Yeah, it really put him back there, and I think he's going to be a little too far back. And I just see looks like it's going to be Nick, Jonathan Platt, and then Kevin Foster, your top 3.
Yeah, I believe you're correct on that. And there we go. A hell of a run by everyone out there tonight. Solid racing. It's very rare that you get a green flag the whole way through, and especially on the new tire model trucks. Wow. Yes, we didn't have, a large field, but 10 drivers out in the field at all times, that's pretty good. Usually for when there's a restart, that's really where it kind of gets a little tough, but no, everyone did a great job tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I've said it, 100 times now. I mean, that's the way it should be. This is what iRacing is really great at right here. It's bringing a bunch of guys together, and you can race a great 90 lap race and have pit strategy and have passes and everything like that. I mean, this was awesome.
Nice little parking job by Kevin Foster and Jonathan Platt.
Yeah, I think they were taking a little bit of a podium picture there for the website or for Randy to post up there. So great job, guys.
Definitely. All right, let's go ahead and roll these guys into the booth. All right, starting off with Kevin Foster. Hi, Kevin. This is Booth. You copy?
10-4.
Hey, man. Solid run. Almost caught up to Platt and tried to steal that second place from him. How'd you feel about those last couple of turns, and what really held you up there?
Well, first off, congratulations to Nick. Second, congrats to Platt. I mean, the last couple of races, I feel like I can't beat Platt. It sucks, but hey, give it up to those guys. The truck in the long run was really good.
Yeah.
They seem to be beating me out of the pits a little bit, but I was able to run them down each and every time. But yeah, it is what it is. We'll take the Suino Diazzo Toyota for P3. I just want to thank the sponsor for that, and man, we'll go get them next week.
So one last question, but before you head out, driving a full 90 laps, no caution, and having to pit on your own, how does that, I guess, wear on you out in the track and driving the wheel?
For me, it's better because it gives it puts a little strategy back into the driver's hands, and it's not just about raw speed. You got to save a little bit of tire in the beginning of the run. to be there at the end, and I was able to do that, but just came up a little bit.
Yeah, now looking back on it, Kevin, given the fact that it seemed like the short pit was really paying off, and if you had this race over again, would you maybe play the pit strategy a little different and maybe go for short pits instead of stretching out for long runs?
For me, no. My strength's the longer runs, and I played to that, and it almost paid off. I think if I would have took 2 tires at the last stop, thought about it, and who would have known what would happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
and I mean, it looked like you definitely had plat cleared for second if you would kept it off the wall in that backstretch there, but that little bit of a bump and then maybe turn one going a little bit high, it might have cost you. But either way, good run, good third place, man.
All right, guys, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for putting it on, and if you guys are out there listening, make sure you hit the subscribe button for Death by Moose Media.
thank you so much, and I hope you have a good evening, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right, so time for second place. Jonathan Platt, how are you doing tonight?
Pretty good.
Hey, man, that was a rough pit. I know both Kevin and you and even Nick, you guys were really kind of gambling on those pits, trying to get out in front of each other. Do you think you might have done a little differently, maybe to close that gap between you and Nick?
Get a sim racing app that tells me what actual fuel I have left.
that actually
good
might
answer.
help.
That's a good
That
answer.
is a good answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the middle part of that run, in between when we were pitting for the third time,
Yeah.
I ran down Nick a little bit, but I was like calculating off iRacing stuff, which is always wrong. And I was like, okay, Nick's pitting right now, or Nick came in at this lap. He's gonna end up like a couple laps short of fuel, so I'm not really racing him. I'm more racing the guys behind me. So I started to try and save a little tire, but maintain a distance behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, I was about 4 laps off. So I killed it.
That happens.
Yeah, and it really seemed like the short pit was kind of the key here tonight. I mean, I don't seem like anybody that came in was gaining about a second a lap coming in early. I mean, when Nick was in there, it seemed like he gained 2 seconds by pitting 2 laps early. So, I mean, you think you would have played a little bit different with maybe coming in early, knowing that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I felt like whoever pit first was going to come out far enough ahead that they were going to burn their tires up trying to catch you, and you can almost ride because clean air meant so much.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely would have came down earlier. That's by.
Well, I mean, either way, it's second place. Nothing to really scoff at. I mean, you ran a good race. You were up there, took the lead kind of early in the race, and checked out a couple times when you had the lead before Greg ran you down a couple times. But good run overall, man. Second place.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you definitely had some of the fastest laps out there compared to both Nick and Greg. You were running them down pretty well, and it's just one of those things that maybe just like you said, pitting just a little sooner might have helped.
Yep, that's it.
Well, great job tonight, man, and I'll see you next race. Let's go ahead and get Nick Nickerson in
One
here.
second. Can I thank my sponsors?
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry about that. Go ahead.
All right, first off, I want to thank Randy Post for putting these races on. It kind of shows what shows he puts on, because look at this race. We went, green to checkered. That's kind of hard to do in these races sometimes. Need to thank you, of course, for the broadcast, and I really need to say thank you to Nero Designs or Nero Graphics, Zach Hillman. If you've seen, we raced a new paint today.
Yes,
it's a
definitely.
suicide prevention paint. I personally struggle with that, so for anybody that's struggling out there, there's always help. Reach out, to Lifeline Suicide Prevention, and just dial 1-800-273-TALK, which is 8255, and there's always somebody there to talk to you, man.
Definitely. Don't ever I guess hold yourself and not dial that number, because it definitely helps to talk to people.
Yep. So thank you guys.
No, thank you for being out here, man. Way to put on a great race, and I'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and get Nick Nickerson in here. It looks like Kevin went back to the broadcasting booth. Should we pull him in too?
Sure.
Hey, Kevin. I saw you pop back into the waiting room. Did you want back in?
No, sorry, I was just talking to Nick. That's all.
Oh, my bad. I'm gonna pull him in for an interview, and then I'll push him up to general for you.
Alright.
Sorry about that. All right, our first place winner, Nick Nickerson.
How's it going?
Almost lost it there. Platt was trying to run you down, and you just had a better pit strategy and pulled it off. That was kind of a hard one for me to read. I haven't seen too many races go that long, so from my experience, it's hard for me to read pit strategy and how you guys are lining yourselves up. I think Carl had it a little more nailed down on what was coming up. What made you choose to go with a shorter pit strategy?
Man, so I'll tell you, I'll be straight. The top 5 guys were all faster than me. I just didn't click with this track one bit. And that first stint, I don't know if you guys saw, man, I was just burning my tires up like crazy. So I was just kind of hanging back for that first couple stints. And then I decided I'm going to short pit all these guys every chance I get. And on that last stint, I was looking at my fuel meter, and as soon as I needed 9.4 gallons to finish the race, I was in the pits. And I got 4 tires, fueled it up, and I just went like hell. And I guess it works.
Yeah. What happened? I think it was like lap 15. You were really falling behind. Was that you just burning up your tires?
Yeah, I was. I learned in that first stint that I was turning my wheel way too much, and I just burned my tires. I think when I pitted, I had like 63% on my right front there, which is terrible. So I quickly learned that I need to stop steering so much, and I was getting a little better, but still, like, those top 5 guys were just, they were way faster than me in the short run and the long run and everything. So
Do you think with that first run, it was just kind of running a little bit too close to Greg, trying to pass him in the beginning, that it just kind of wasn't getting me enough downforce that you actually had to turn down a little bit more? That maybe if you played a little different and kind of backed off a little bit, it would help you out.
I was thinking about that too. It might have been a little bit better in those last 2 stints because I had clean air, and I was able to. I had a really hard time keeping my front end turning after like 12 laps on those tires. And then that was forcing me to turn the wheel even more, and it just compounding my tires, and I was burning them up like crazy. So yeah, absolutely. Being a little too close to Greg there could have destroyed my tires in that first stint.
Well, either way, I mean, you definitely rectified it and figured out what strategy was going to work for you, and put you on the lead a couple times. And there was both times it seemed like Jonathan Platt was definitely running you down, but the second one you just jumped out to too good of a lead. Really good pit entry, really good pit exit, and that was enough for you to get that nice little gap.
Yeah, definitely happy it worked out.
Yeah, that was some hell of a run for you guys, especially 90 laps. Is there anyone you'd like to thank for the race?
Just good old Rando putting this league on. It's a lot of fun. And of course, Moose and Carl for all the work you guys do, and the broadcasts. Tons of fun.
Yeah, it's a blast, and to see these types of races is always I don't know how to describe it other than it's kind of like finding a pot of gold. Yeah, it's very rare that some races go this long, even with really good drivers. It's really rare. So I just want to thank you guys and everyone else out on the track for doing a great job out tonight. You guys really pulled together a great race. I know some of you guys fell behind a little bit, but you guys did a great job out there. So thank you for coming out, Nick, and to you, Platt, and to Kevin Foster, and Greg, Chase, Bryson, Daniel, Chris, Casey, Willie, Billy, Bill, and Bobby.
Billy and Bobby.
Billy Bob. For all those guys coming out tonight. You guys did a great job and did your best to hold in there. So I can't wait to see you guys next week, and hopefully you guys can do the same thing in Las Vegas.
Hell yeah, man. Can't wait.
All right, let's go ahead and close out the broadcast, and I'll see you guys afterwards.
All right, man.